Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. We're going to do our daily oil, natural gas, and solar technical analysis. We're just looking to see how these things are performing, how they're progressing forward. Are we breaking patterns? Are we stuck at resistance levels? And that's why we do the dailies. And the more familiar you are with the dailies, the weeklies, and you kind of see it on a continual basis, the better entry points you're going to have, the more confidence you're going to have, and you're going to have the latest information on those stocks that I would consider to be possible from a market's, we'll call it the market's thoughts on that stock. And the way that I see it is through technical analysis. I know some people, they may say, well, earnings per share matters and this matters. Well, money flows is what matters. And how do you measure money flows? I mean, that's really what you're going to be measuring. How money flows into and out of assets is what determines prices. And the herd, where that money's going and where it's being directed. And that's why I have the thesis of real estate starts, inflation, interest rates, and how this all gets directed. So this is one of the sectors that I really like. I think oil, natural gas, and solar. I threw solar in there. Oil and natural gas for sure are going to go, I think, far higher. Solar, I think they're just going to dump a ton of money into it. That's why I'm looking at solar. The projections for growth is quite high. The limitations is if oil and natural gas and all these, we'll call it fossil fuels, gets incredibly scarce, it's going to drive a lot of other things up through the roof. And solar has a lot of input costs. So that's where I get a little bit like, it's doing well now, but I'll put it into free rides eventually when they slow down, whenever that may be. So again, this is just my financial opinion. Please don't use this as advice, but here we go. So here's oil. West Texas Intermediate Crude is what WTIC stands for. I drew a trend line at the top here that we're trying to break. We've been hitting it, hit it again. Now, we could head lower in oil. We could. I'm not doing anything. I'm not selling anything. The reason I'm saying that is, let me see if I'll show you here. And I'll bring it up here, guys. So I'm looking at this right-hand side here. I'm going to zoom in on it. And right here is what I'm talking about. Right there. This guy right there, that big red candlestick. Now, this is what I see, and I'll draw it over here. This is the red candlestick, and then you see these little guys coming up. And what I'm seeing, and I'll make sure you guys know that was supposed to be inside. Those are red. Blue or green there. Get the outside of that too. Full green and that. So usually when you see a candlestick that has this, oh my goodness, I put them in backwards. No. Green, red. There you go. There you go. So we've got this red candlestick there in the 3 little days. This is what I'm zooming in on. And you're basically, it's almost like a reverse bearish engulfing almost, but the sellers took this in 1 day from here to here. The buyers took 3 days to bring it back up from here to here. That distance there. So the sellers, in terms of buying pressure, pushed this thing down quite a bit in a very short period. And then the buyers are struggling to push it higher over the trading periods. Now, I think that this could potentially resolve itself to the downside for a little bit of a pullback. How big is that pullback? Not exactly sure, but it doesn't mean that it will play out that way. And I am not selling my shares of anything, because this is where technical analysis, it's not 100%. It's maybe I'm 60-70% of the time right that we're going to get a down movement. And let's say we get a down movement. And your down movement is one of these guys, and it comes right next to it, right? So it opened down. It came down and then it closed. And let's say this is right below this. I kind of drew it kind of funky, but it's a down day, but it came back up where the momentum was coming back up. And then we see it move. So we only get one down day, and that's all you got out of it. So it doesn't tell you the duration. It doesn't tell you the length. It doesn't tell you the size. It just says we're probably going to go a little bit lower, but we're not exactly sure how big. And it could last for a little bit, maybe not. So rather than me getting all worried about that, I just stay in it and I ride it. If it goes down to 80 or 78 or something, and it bases out and then moves back up, I just ride through it. So there's that. But this run up is losing steam. You're seeing the contraction in the candlesticks as it goes up. And I think we're probably going to roll over for a little bit, get a little bit of a pullback. Natural gas, I mean, this thing's just chopping sideways right now. We've got buyers and sellers dueling it back and forth with pretty good volatility. Will this break the trend line? We'll find out. We'll just watch it. But I'm riding this thing higher over time. Here's SM Energy, and SM Energy, it's coming up and approaching its resistance line here at about $38. Weird to say that because I remember buying it back here for a very good price, and now it's already all the way up here. But this thing has crushed earnings, it's crushed revenues, it's got a lot of short sellers, and that's why this thing's moving so fast upward. And I mean, we'll see if it can break this line. If we break this line, we'll just continue to move on up, maybe even at a faster clip. Looking at SM Energy from a long-term perspective, this is a weekly candlestick chart all the way back to 2008. We had this massive sell-off down here. Came up, came back. This was a perfect entry point, and then boom, gone. It paused a little bit here and then came back up. Notice the reverse symmetry. The down move, this move all through here is roughly the same move all the way up in terms of time frame. And we're right there. We broke this $30, $30, $31, $32 area to the upside, and now we're at $36.64. That's this guy right in here was the hang up with a nice bullish engulfing pattern there. Boom, higher. And guys, this thing could, I mean, we could get to $90 in a heartbeat. And I'm sure you've heard me say this before on the channel. I think that we could probably make all-time highs and maybe even $150 or something, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll see where this thing ends up, but depends highly on the price of oil and how high oil goes. I'm not giving a time frame on that number either. Here's Centennial Resource Development. You can see that we've got kind of a shoulder developing. We got to break through this resistance line. We're still there at that resistance line from a weekly perspective. We've broken all these other downtrends over here. So now we're just waiting for this one to go. And it very well could do another little loop if we get a pullback. Callon Petroleum, this one looks really good. It broke out. It's just sitting above its support line. We broke this type of downtrend through here. That's when I was looking at down. We got in, I think down in here. But just let it make you money. I think this has a good chance of going far higher than $54. Crescent Point, another one that I own. I bought this one more recently. I think it was in here. A downtrend line, we broke that, we came back, and that's where I was like, gotta buy it right off this back test. Because this thing's still kind of, I'd say, delayed versus the other ones. And then you got this line coming through here that we're at resistance support. We're right there at it. And then I think you're going to see a big move higher. This is a shoulder pattern, reverse head and shoulders. This is the same pattern that BTU had a while back when it was like at $11. And then I think this is going to go far higher than $5. So that one's good to look at. Another one that's kind of a laggard is Northern Oil and Gas. You draw this downtrend line in all the way hitting these peaks. I mean, yeah, it goes over a little bit. It's okay. another peak, but we broke out. We're kind of chilling here. We could do a retest. I don't think we're going to fall all the way back, but if oil gets a little bit weak, you never know. I would probably buy more, but this is another one that could take off when oil goes up. Lots of volume. Looks good. Grand Tier Energy. Now, this one is looking fantastic. I was thinking about buying more in it. And we got in right at, it was 30-something cents, maybe, somewhere in this, I think it's right here. We got in here at the channel. We're holding on. We're probably going to break this downtrend line any second. We broke this downtrend line here, and this thing could roll. Now, looking at it from a little bit longer term perspective on a different scale, all the way, but here's 08 and back. This is a descending wedge pattern that we're about to break to the upside. This is where, if you want GTE, I would probably add in here and hold on. It may not just go, barreling higher. You may break it, come back and do a retest and then take off. But looking at these patterns here, and again, this is a shoulder head shoulder pattern or a cup and handle pattern that just developed. So you have a pattern within a pattern. You have a kind of a medium term pattern, which is kind of big, which is going to bust through this long-term downtrend line and provide a double whammy launching pad. So Grand Tier Energy, remember, never put all your money in any one of these companies. Diversify out, make sure your portfolio position sizes are correct. But this thing looks fantastic. Tellurian, TEL, this one looks fantastic as well. Last one, I was like, this thing's ready to go. I'm still saying that this could see a big move if just been looking at this chart here. So that's another one that I think looks excellent to hold on. And our entry point was I bought in at 90 cents and $1.30, $1.29, $1.30, something like that. And I've just been holding on. I have not sold my shares. This looks fantastic. I see nothing in here that is bearish. This is all big buying pressure. The selling pressure could not drive this thing lower. It's ready to go higher, I think. Now, Comstock, this is one that looks really good as well. I did add a little bit in here. We broke this big pattern. I'm kind of semi-zoomed out on a weekly basis. So we broke it to the upside. We kind of do this sideways movement, and this could go down a little bit more. I'm not saying this can't go down. What I'm telling you is that the pattern is broken. The downtrend line, the sideways movement, and we're about to start a new uptrend, which could get quite explosive here. Let me back out a little bit more. And this is what we're trying to break. We're trying to break through here. We're just paused there. Pause there for me to get a little bit more shares. Now, look to your left-hand side at about 10, 11, 15, whatever dollars this is up here. You go to the left, you get a little more resistance, stickiness through here. But this area, it fell dramatically from $75-ish all the way down. What that means is that when we come back up, we'll get a little bit sticky right in this area. And if natural gas takes off, this could be a $75 stock in a hurry, because the way it fell and how fast it fell, I think will revert to the upside over time. So I think it could be we get stuck in this little area up here and then we launch from like 15, 20 bucks or something like that. So this is one to look at. I think this one has a lot of debt and it's been diluted. Obviously, it's I don't know if it'll ever get back to the stock prices way up here, but $100, it could very easy. I mean, we could see it at $400. It depends what natural gas does and how bad this energy crisis gets, or maybe not. But we're right there trying to break the resistance line, and if we break it, there's not much resistance all the way to $75. That's what I wanted to get across. Sandridge has been moving on up. It does have this big sell-off day or week. This is a weekly. Big sell-off week, and we're kind of struggling to come back up. This could pull back. If we see a big pullback here, I would use it as a buying opportunity. I do own a little bit of Sandridge, not much, but I mean, if it pulls on back and it's somewhere down here, I would buy some more. Now here's Southwestern Energy. Remember that reverse head and shoulders patterns that I've been talking about? This is a big move lower. Notice how fast this thing moved down, and there isn't too much movements. I think that it's going to reverse its way up. We've spent a lot more time in this area consolidating, and we're spending more time in this area consolidating just like we are in this area. So we spent down here 1-2 years. Now we'll be down there for 1-2 years. We're going to break this very soon, I think. When you look to the left-hand side, when we break it, reverse symmetry is what I'm thinking. I think we'll hit 15 bucks pretty quick, and then I think it's all the way off to the races to 55 after maybe a little bit of a pullback. So maybe we've come up, we pull back a little bit, and then we take off. So this one looks good. And these natural gas companies, they look crazy. They're putting in these massive head and shoulder patterns. We saw that with Crescent Point Energy as well. We're seeing it with some of these other ones too. Like this thing looks ridiculous. Comstock. That just looks ridiculous, guys. Tellurian looks ridiculous. They all look ridiculous, these natural gas companies. This one looks fantastic. Now, TAN also looks fantastic from a really long-term perspective. Weekly chart. I look at a lot of charts, and this pattern, it's recognizable. What happens is you come on down. This was a huge move up here. It came on down. It bases and does this huge basing pattern. This entire pattern down here is a basing pattern. And I think that this could go way higher, like way, way, way higher, off this page higher easily. And this is kind of the beginning of this basing pattern that we're going to take off. It's going to go sideways, maybe a little bit, we'll pull up. We'll probably do like another sideways, like a cup and handle pattern. And then we'll see this big launch. That's kind of maybe how that works. But the volume's kicking in here. If governments think that this is the solution and they throw many, many trillions of dollars during an energy crisis at it, I mean, these companies aren't that big. And you're just going to see a ton of money. So zooming in on some of the companies, Beam Global is right there breaking out. This one looks fantastic. We did a bloody nose, so it's a big tall guy, candlestick body with a bloody nose. You draw that across this way. It was right at support, and then we jumped again today. And what we do here is we do nothing. We let it ride. This has probably got a pretty good upside to it, and it's a very volatile. It's gonna throw you back in your seat when this thing gets moving. So you wanna be locked and loaded and sitting, ready to go. Sunworks is another one that I think is ready to go here. We got the downtrend line. We came up. We sold off with I think they're raising money or something like that. And I think the money flows are going to come into TAN. I think this is in TAN, and this I think is going to go up quite a bit. Hopefully. Remember, portfolio position size, get across some of these companies, and if you get a couple that do 3, 4, 5, 600%, then if you have a laggard, it doesn't matter. And don't expect every single one of the picks to perform equally. Some of them have problems, some of them go crazy. And that's why we diversify amongst all these different picks, is we're trying to get the returns in the sector under the most volatile companies. Now here's SOL, but it's performing like it's, it's performing like it's first in line, FIL. It's not SOL, it's FIL, first in line. This thing's doing really good. Bullish engulfing pattern right where my mouse is, and it's been moving on up, and it's got that pattern where you got big up days, small down days. Perfect. I love the way this thing looks after breaking this downtrend. Now looking at fuel cell, remember when I go after these things, I go after the volatile stuff. We bought, where was it? In here somewhere? I bought in here about $6 or so. And we pulled up, big buying pressure, small selling pressure. Came back to the line. This would have been another good buy point. Come back up, small selling pressure, now we're taking off. We're going to break through this resistance area here if we can, of this like megaphone type pattern almost. And maybe we're off to the races. Maybe this thing hits 30, 40 bucks quick. Maybe we go back to like 90. No joke. It's a pretty volatile company. And remember, don't go all in on these. Portfolio allocation size. Here's Plug Power, another one I own. I was looking at this big bullish engulfing pattern right here is what set it off. We came up, slow leak off of sellers, didn't pull all the way back. Little bullish engulfing pattern. We're pulling up. I was like, gotta get in, gotta get in. And now we are taking off. Almost have 100% gain in about a month. That's very possible, but I'm riding it and letting it go. I'm going after these really volatile companies, guys. You got to have a little bit of experience here because they're going to throw you around. And then you got SunPower. SunPower's putting in that bottoming pattern as well. It's breaking out. It may do a little retest and then probably head higher. Enphase is breaking out too. I did a long-term pattern, last one, coming across, popped higher, 24% or something, and it's starting to move. So that's the biggest holdings in TAN is Enphase. So that's what we've got. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Lots of really good picks here, I think. They're incredibly volatile. And you don't want to put a whole bunch into one sector, into one company. You got to spread out because if some of these, they can get killed. So enter at your own risk. Make sure you know that. And what I'm doing is I swing for the fences, so I find swing for the fences picks. It works great even if you lose on an entire sector. Because if one sector does incredibly well, you could have a couple of 20, 30, 40 baggers in there. And I'm not joking. 20, 30 times your money. But you have to hold through it. You can't buy it, go up 50% and then sell it. You have to hold through it, and you got to know the company. If you're going to buy these, you got to do some research, figure out what they do, and you should be able to explain in a couple sentences, like, this is what the company does, this is kind of how they make their money. That type of background you kind of have to know a little bit. You don't have to get super detailed, but know what they do, kind of figure out what they are, and then look at the charts. If everything looks good and the whole sector looks good, you know, like the solar sector, and I'm taking a chance. I don't know this sector as well, so but I think money's going to get thrown at it, and they're incredibly volatile, which means big moves to the upside when they have those moves. Hopefully we're early, and I think we're right. The technicals look really good, so I own them. I'm holding on. If you guys like this analysis, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.